And I just bought this in the 190 range, and it is
shout out to the watch list.
Shout out to the watch list. And some people might say that I'm crazy. I bought this stock at 33 times sales, but I don't care. I bought Zoom at 90 times sales, so it doesn't matter to me. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That is Fat Man Zoom. And this is Own the Chaos. If you guys aren't familiar with this channel, we have made it our mission to help you own the crazy and chaotic world that is the stock market. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the reopening plays, right? They've just gone absolutely crazy, but I think everybody keeps chasing the same ones and aren't really necessarily looking at ones that, I don't know, the Wall Street Bets folks are talking about. So I think these are going to be 5 really good ones, Fat Man Zoom. You and I have kind of gone over them already, but I feel really good about them.
Yeah, not even, more specific than just reopening. We felt like it was important to discuss the travel industry because our bold prediction is that the travel industry is not just going to come back,
right,
but it's going to blow up. And I think we're going to see more and more mainstream news outlets talking about this beginning of April. As soon as beginning of April, you're already starting to see a little bit of it, but we think this could be a huge boom. I do want to talk about the 5 stocks, but I also want to talk a little bit about that idea of the trends, travel overall, and it's not just airlines. We'll talk about some airlines, but also beyond airlines, other opportunities there.
Yeah, before we get into that real quick, I just want to invite everybody over to ownthechaos.com. If you guys want a free watch list from us every freaking day, every single day, we put out a watch list at 9 a.m. just before the market opens, kind of give you a snapshot of what it is that we want, or that we're looking at. Has some potential movement. So if you guys want to check out our watch list, go check it out at ownthechaos.com. It's absolutely free. Love to have you guys over there as part of the Chaos crew. Yeah,
so we're going to give you the 5 stocks. First, I wanted to bring up a couple things and get your response to it. So as far as the travel industry is concerned, the way I looked at it was segments. And so I brought up online or gaming in general, to consider gaming, and we have a stock that could actually benefit a couple of these: manufacturing, lodging, and air travel. So those were the things I was looking at. Am I missing anything?
No.
So those are ones to consider. Trends. So what trends are you seeing in travel? A few of them that I brought up was personalized experience.
Yeah.
So I think now, because people are itching to go out, I think people demand more from their travel than just a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Whether it be a hotel or whatnot. Even when we talk about resort experience, gaming experience, I think the more personal, the better. So that's a trend I think we're going to start seeing. The other trend I think we're going to start seeing is a huge demand in domestic travel. I anticipate international still being a slow go. I think it's going to lag a little bit behind. Definitely your perspective on that. And lastly, I think we see a huge trend in road trips as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've already started to see a huge trend in road trips from last year, right? Because that was the safest way to get around.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on the road trip thing? Why do you think that's going to continue to
I still, there's certain people I think who are still going to be hesitant no matter what.
Yeah.
And so there might be a little bit of uncertainty, at least in the beginning, as far as flying. So for them, I would imagine, hey, we haven't traveled at all. At the very least, let's have a staycation or let's go somewhere a few hours away. Just because it's going to take time for us to just get back to like large groups and big groups. And, even flying, I've flown twice in the past 6 weeks. I feel comfortable flying, but it's still a little bit weird for me. And so, naturally, I anticipate people more just taking a couple hours and driving somewhere near them, whatever the big city is.
I agree. I think like day trips and that sort of thing is going to be huge still this year. I don't think we're quite out of that woods of just like everybody's comfortable being around everybody just yet. The CDC put out a piece that they think that it is okay for those who are vaccinated to hang around each other now. So I think that's going to slowly become a thing, but it's still going to be a slow roll.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think that there's still going to be a huge demand, and we saw a crazy demand for RVs and that sort of thing. And we saw Thor Industries and Camping World, all those stocks go absolutely nuts last year, and they've kind of like leveled off and pulled back a little bit. I think this season is going to be just as powerful. So I agree with you there. So the other thing you wanted to talk about was just domestic travel over international travel. Yeah. So you think that domestic travel is going to actually be?
I think domestic travel is going to be to levels we haven't seen in a very long time, just because people do want to travel, and international travel is going to lag only because of other restrictions from other countries. Right. So that's going to take time as well. Did you realize like Italy shut back down again?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I have a friend in Italy, and she's like, "No, we're shut back down again."
Holy shit!
And
okay.
So I think I do think it's still temporary, but other countries aren't going as quickly as we are just to sort of reopen. Some are, but I think a lot of them, for the most part, are not.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that. I agree with you, though, too, not just from that standpoint, but the way that I feel about it is, the elderly were the first ones to get vaccinated. So what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to get on a plane to go visit their loved ones or what have you. And we're already starting to see that. Jim Cramer brought up something interesting yesterday. He put out a tweet about just like Boeing and how they're going to be continue to do really well. Yeah. And he said something that was staggering to me, that the air travel is going to be in demand 2 to 3 times more than it was pre-pandemic. And that is incredible. I mean, I thought that there was going to be demand coming back, and I could actually see an instance where we see twice the demand, but up to 3 times, that's insane to me.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting about that whole idea of people traveling to visit loved ones. I think about travel and I think about vacations and personal.
Yeah.
But I think that's an even bigger point.
Yes.
Like everybody's going to want to see their loved ones and everybody's going to be traveling. And so the pent up demand is there. There's no doubt about that. I think how long it lasts is going to surprise people and how quickly it comes back, certainly domestically. And let's be real. There's a lot of people in the U.S. that are more confident just in the U.S.
Right.
and aren't going to be likely to be confident in other countries just because they don't know what's happening there. So there will be some hesitations, but I don't think that's going to preclude people from traveling. I think they're just going to adjust it. And let's not, discount the fact of people probably have some money, and so they're going to treat themselves as well when they get there. So
absolutely.
Considering all those things, let's get right into the 5 stocks, and let's talk about the first stock, which is a manufacturing play.
Yeah, so it's going to be Spirit Air Systems, not to be confused with Spirit Airlines. A lot of people get that confused. So the ticker symbol is actually going to be SPR. Spirit Air System, their primary purpose is to be a manufacturer for Boeing. If you guys don't know, what they're mainly known for is building fuselages for the Boeing 737 and really kind of just Boeing in general. They have other clients. Airbus comes to mind as well, but Spirit Air Systems is something that has just been so overlooked and underappreciated. It has moved really well since their two earnings seasons ago. They have done really well, moving up from $17 all the way up to $51 as of this recording, which has been absolutely incredible. But the upside here is still double from where it's at right now, which is absolutely incredible. And if we're going to be seeing this kind of demand like we're seeing from air travel that we think is going to happen, Spirit Air Systems is going to continue to roll. I have something down here we just talked about before we started recording. Southwest Airlines is reportedly close to a deal with Boeing for a potentially huge 737 MAX order as the carrier looks to refresh its fleet. And we're looking at potentially 130 to 170 more planes being ordered just from Southwest alone. That is insane.
Yeah, and that's the initial order. Apparently, they're trying to grow that to almost 300 planes.
That's crazy.
We'll see how that builds their pipeline for Boeing. Obviously, Spirit will benefit.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think Southwest is one in a line of other companies that's going to follow suit.
So. We've already seen orders come from United Airlines, and there was another Chinese manufacturer that wants 737s in their fleets as well. So, this is the party's just getting started here for Boeing, for Spirit. So I think this is great. If we look at the weekly chart, we're still well below our 200-day MA line, sitting at around 66. And if we look at it pre-pandemic, it was as high just before the crash at 93.66-ish, and then was as high as $100 plus before that, before the 737 started having issues. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, this is perfect timing for Spirit, for Boeing, everybody involved in air travel. This is going to be a great one.
The number 2 stock we have is in the gaming side. And the number 2 stock, I'll just say, is MGM. And what I like about MGM, and you could give a little bit more details.
Yeah.
But the thing about MGM is it's a great hedge play. You mentioned before that it was a resort. They've got their sports betting, which just came out, BetMGM. So anybody looking at the chart before COVID, their online gaming didn't exist.
Right.
So I wouldn't fear any all-time highs for this stock. No. But also we talked about international exposure. So that's another kick in, hopefully towards the end of the year with Macau, China. But the one thing I wanted to get your feedback on as far as MGM is concerned, and we've loved this stock for a very long time, is when people go back to Vegas, which feels like another world in and of itself, Vegas is set up and built for social distance. Right. Now, before you guys go saying nightclubs, I get it.
Yeah.
But when you think about a lot of what goes on in casinos, you know, you have gamings like slots are distant. Even when you sit at the table games, like you're distant from the dealer a little bit. It's not 6 feet, but you're not jammed.
Right.
And so casinos are spaced out. You talk about shows, there's a lot to do outside of just nightclubs that I think it sets itself up to do really well coming out of this.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, Fat Man Zoom.
Yeah.
Did you know that MGM is now partnering with Buffalo Wild Wings?
I did not.
Yeah, it just came out today. So I'm reading straight from their press release. Sports fans can now access a unique sports betting experience when placing wagers through the BetMGM app inside Buffalo Wild Wings sports bars in Colorado, New Jersey, Indiana, Iowa, Tennessee, and West Virginia, which are all states that are legally sports betting. Yeah. First in the industry, the BetMGM app uses geolocation technology to offer custom promotions and bet types for guests who are physically inside Buffalo Wild Wings in select markets. That is really, truly innovative. I think that we've talked about how our other businesses or companies in this space are going to compete with something like Penn and the competitive advantage that Barstool Sports has in their Barstool Sports app, which we still love Penn as our number one, but MGM is this is a big deal. As states continue to become more legal, I imagine that we're going to see this in other Buffalo Wild Wings. That's going to be awesome. I love Buffalo Wild Wings to go watch the game. I would definitely engage in this. It kind of reminds me of like the remember like the trivia stuff they used to do all the time? I bet you this is probably going to take the place of that. I mean, it's probably going to be something similar, but it's just going to be in sports betting. This is huge.
It's a great partnership. I like it. It's a smart move on both parties. But yeah, I agree. The fact that they're looking for ways to get exposure, not just let's throw money at something, right?
Right.
Buffalo Wild Wings has a loyal following, has exposure, has a large footprint, and so I like it.
I like it a lot too. And looking at the chart here, it just popped over 52-week highs, which I believe are all-time highs or close to it. $40.49. We're looking at the weekly chart again, just like we were looking at on Spirit Air System, and this is well above the 200-day MA, but I don't think there's anything to fear as far as this is concerned. If you just heard me rattle off just a handful of states, that's the handful of states that this is just getting started. And as far as sports betting is concerned, we have a long way to go. I imagine that as the more we see sports betting on ballots, they're just going to be yeses at this point. I don't think there's any reason to believe that any state is going to say no to this, especially with all the money they need to raise now at this point. So the next one for me is going to, or for the number 3 stock is going to be Southwest. Southwest Airlines. This is our favorite airlines. Why is it our favorite airline, Fat Man Zoom?
Let's start with just how the business is run fundamentally.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it's the best one.
Right.
Pretty much in any metric you look at. Break-even load factor, their efficiencies, their leadership. Gary Kelly's, to me, the best CEO in the space.
Yeah.
And so they do things right. They run their business right. they have, I like their starting international exposure a little bit, but they're the dominant airline for domestic.
Yes.
So we expect them to benefit.
Right.
They've got a hub here in Baltimore, but their main hub is in Texas, and we already know that Texas is wide open.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're already full capacity in their flights. Right. So
you had said yourself that the 2 flights that you've been on were packed.
Yeah, exactly. So, they already have, you're seeing the demand come back. We think there's going to be boom in domestic travel, and they're going to begin wider expansion starting in April. So now is the time. And I know it's looking a little hot, but I expect incredible year-over-year numbers as we look at these earnings each quarter moving forward.
I do too, man. And I'm looking at the chart here again on the weekly. The weekly just tells the whole story from all these stocks because we have to go back pre-pandemic. So the daily doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot to me. So if I'm looking at the weekly chart, we just now started to break over the highs that we were at pre-pandemic, and just what we were talking about as far as, you know, the demand being so much higher, and the fact that Southwest is spending money on these planes just speaks to their confidence in air travel coming back, what it's going to look like 2 to 3 times more. That this thing is not stopping here. It's going to continue to roll. How shitty must Warren Buffett feel to sell this kind of stuff at the bottom?
I'm sure he's doing all right.
I'm just saying, man, I can't believe he sold all of his airlines at the bottom like that. But yeah, this is going to continue to roll. We love Southwest Airlines for all the reasons you said. What is the last one that we got looking at as far as travel is concerned?
Sort of in the same vein, one stock is Booking, which BKNG is actually tied together with Southwest. So if you actually go to Southwest and you do the hotels, any hotel you're booking is actually through Booking.com.
Right.
And so I love this partnership. Booking owns a bunch of meta sites, travel sites, Priceline they own amongst others. But numbers wise, bookings are down 63%. We're down 63% in 2020. Revenue is down 55%. That's just for Booking.com. I'm going to give you numbers for another similar company. But I love the fact that they're partnered with Southwest. As that demand grows and people book on Southwest and just travel in general, Booking.com is great. The other thing about Booking.com is you get any experience you want. So if you want hotels, you can get hotels, but they're doing more of the personalized experience, similar to our last stock. I don't want to give it away, but they're doing personalized experience. And so really you can get anything you want on Booking.com. I don't know, I know you're going to talk about the price and maybe it seems a little high, but the reality is it's a tech stock. They have great margins. They have good numbers, and I expect them to bounce back really strongly.
They've lagged their other competitors as far as the stock's concerned in performance overall. The competitor stocks, Expedia, TripAdvisor, Trivago, it's lagged all of those as far as performance is concerned. On the latest earnings call, CEO Glenn Fogel noted that booking in Israel, and I know this isn't matter too much in the United States, but just bear with me. They have vaccinated more than half of their people. They're now up more than double digits compared to 2019 levels. So that I think just kind of speaks to what our argument as far as being at 2 to 3 times in demand. So I agree. I think that this is going to be one that's still worth buying up, even though we look on the chart here, it's pretty far up above its 200-day MA. It's screaming pretty much on the RSI, even on the weekly chart. But we look at this again, if our theory is correct as far as demand's concerned and the way that this is going to explode, it's just above where it was pre-pandemic. So we're only probably about, let me see here. Pre-pandemic, it was at 2,100. It just touched 2,400. So I would say, what's that? Around 20 to 25% above. I still think we got plenty of room to run as far as Booking.com is concerned. If by some chance it comes back down to 2,300 or so, I'd be scooping it up there.
Yeah, and one point you mentioned that when you were talking about the Israel situation and double-digit growth, I didn't even think about bringing this up, but it bears to mention. Think about this. Businesses aren't making their employees come back as quick. Right. So that's the other thing. How does remote work factor into this? Because back in 2019, I would love to look at the percentage of people that worked remotely in 2019 and now in 2021 when we open back up, let's say in June. Yeah. There's still a lot of companies that are being really conservative about letting people come back or not even making people come back, and that's a new way to work.
Yeah.
So those people now can work from anywhere. And how many digital nomads are we going to see providing a boost to travel? So that's another factor.
Which is a perfect segue into our last stock, which is what?
Airbnb.
And I just bought this in the 190 range, and it is
shout out to the watch list.
Shout out to the watch list. It just broke up over $200 as of this recording. It's sitting at 199.18 right now. And some people might say that I'm crazy. I bought this stock at 33 times sales. But I don't care. I bought Zoom at 90 times sales. So it doesn't matter to me, as far as sale multiples are concerned. This has just it plays right into what we were talking about, digital nomads. We've talked about how remote work isn't going anywhere. So if you are a remote worker and you want to work from wherever you want to, you can. And the perfect place to do that is through an Airbnb. I haven't stayed in a hotel since I don't know when.
Yeah.
It's always Airbnb as far as I'm concerned. And, I love this stock. We're finally through the lockup period. We're through our first earnings. As you noted, when we talked about the IPO, they set the bar really low and they couldn't have IPO'd at a better time. So I think that, to me, in my opinion, it's only up from here.
Yeah, and to clarify why the bar set low is when you look at earnings, it's all about earnings as far as performance and shareholder value. And so forward looking is really important. Growth's really important. And so when you look at growth, the bar set low as far as last year compared to this year. So they should blow out those numbers. Yeah. Now, eventually that'll level out and people will factor that in. But the first earnings that they really blow out, I see a monster move. And talking about growth, they did, we talked about bookings were down 63% for Booking.com. Airbnb booked 193 million nights and experiences.
I was just about to toss that number out at you. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, but it's down. So that's down 40%. That was 2020. That was down 40%. So Booking.com down 63%. Airbnb is holding up better at 40%. And their revenue only declined 30%, which isn't that much,
right,
considering we had a pandemic and it squarely hit companies like this in the mouth, like lodging.
Yeah.
So I think Airbnb, to me, might end up winning the most out of anybody. And I agree. I don't care about the multiples from a long-term perspective. Maybe you could say that could matter, but that's not going to play for years down the road. Right now, it's a growth story. It's going to continue to grow, and people care about how are you growing, and we're going to see some monster numbers. Experiences people sleep on. Experiences is a high margin revenue generating opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And also the competitive advantage they have against companies like Booking is the experience for the person with the side hustle that's trying to rent out their place. Booking can offer them similar incentives, but it's built for people that want to rent out their house. It makes them extra money. So I love Airbnb.
Not only that, bro, but like, when I say to Airbnb, the part that I love the most about it, you talk about experiences, like I could go to a hotel and have an experience, but when it feels as if that experience has just been catered to you and you as the individual, we talk about this all the time about building relationships. And when you go to Airbnb, you build a relationship with that person who owns that home or what have you. And I don't think that you can compete on that.
Well, are you familiar with their actual Airbnb experiences?
So I know about them.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk on that.
So they have obviously the revenue generating line, and their main sort of like cash cow is renting out homes, apartments, whatever.
Right.
But then they have a whole nother revenue stream, which is called experiences. And when you go to a city, there are people that could be tour guides, that could be chefs, and whatever. And you basically pay them to create, to do activities, so to add things to your agenda. So, for example, let's say you go to Portugal. You go to Portugal and you're like, oh, this guy teaches you how to surf, so you could pay for an experience to surf. Or they may have a bar hopping or wine tasting or whatever, and they're customizable and they're created by the community.
Right.
And so when you're going somewhere, you get to connect with the locals. Like you said, something a little bit more personal, and then you'll get to be around more people like you that are doing the same thing as you, have same interests as you. So to me, it's like a meetup.com.
Yeah.
But for travel and Airbnb. And I think that people don't talk about that enough as a revenue generating item, because let's say people come to Baltimore and you're like, I'm going to do a historic tour of Fells Point. Well, what does that cost Airbnb? $0, right? Whatever the commission is.
Yeah.
What does that cost you? $0 to walk people around. So the margins are going to be ridiculous for that.
Oh my God.
And that's really exciting. I think that's going to be a sleeper revenue stream when we look like a year or two down the road.
Absolutely. We look at the chart right now and there is no 200-day MA because it's not even 200 days old. But if we look at the chart, it actually, and I had to go back to the daily on this one, but it actually is starting to break over that 200 mark. It just briefly popped over that. I think $200 is going to be laughable as we go into the reopening. This is a tech stock that's also a reopening play. And we've talked about these before about how I think that is the ultimate leverage is when you're a tech stock and now you're also reopening. I talked about that with Square. We talked about that recently now just with Booking in this episode. But man, we get this back up over 216 and I think that all-time highs are going to be blown out of the water pretty soon.
Yep. So there you guys have it. Those are the 5 stocks to watch out for the travel boom. The travel boom. You guys heard it here first. The travel boom. You guys are going to be hearing about it. Think about the stocks that you're interested in. This is a great way to diversify your portfolio, to take advantage of the reopening play if you maybe are a little bit too heavy in tech. But it's important to get into a couple of these. These are 5 of our favorite.
That's going to do it for us, guys. Again, go check out ownthechaos.com and get our free watch list. It comes out every day. We'd love to have you guys a part of the Chaos crew. There's also paid services in there. If you guys want to have a more in-depth watch list, also access to our portfolios. That's all in there. It's super cheap. Go check it out. Ownthechaos.com. We'd love to have you guys as part of the crew. That's going to do it for me, Fat Man Zoom.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and let us know what your favorite stock is in the comments.
You heard the man. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.
Bye.